Hello, everybody, and welcome to this bonus episode of The Tip of the Ice-Burgh. I'm your host, Nick Belsky, and most of you have probably already seen the news because it happened early Thursday afternoon. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to get to my computer until this morning, but let's talk about what happened. The Penguins acquired defenseman Matt Dumba from the Dallas Stars, as well as a 2028 second-round pick in exchange for younger left shot defenseman Vladislav Kolyachonok. Before we talk about what's coming in, let's briefly touch on what's going out the door, and that's Vlad Kolyachonok, somebody who, when he was acquired, he was a waiver claim in the middle of last season. A lot of people were excited to see what he was able to do when given the opportunity. The thing is, he didn't really get a lot of opportunity in the city of Pittsburgh. Yeah, he was able to get a couple of games under his belt as a member of the Penguins, but he struggled to get consistent playing time under Mike Sullivan. It's not that he was awful. He was never awful. It just never seemed that he was able to get his footing in Pittsburgh. And because of that, he got lost in the shuffle of what was a revolving door of third pairing defensemen towards the end of last season. And if you're the Penguins, that's really good value because while it didn't seem like Kolyachonok was going to be a piece for the future, he was a little bit younger, and he was somebody that maybe you could afford to have a little bit of patience with, right? It's not like the Penguins are shooting for the stars in 2025-26, and it's not like the Penguins have a whole heck of a lot on the left side of their defense, as we'll get to here in a little bit. But at the end of the day, when you are a rebuilding team, getting a second round pick and only giving up a guy that you picked up on waivers 6 months ago, probably at most, I think it was less than 6 months ago, that's a good piece of business if you're Kyle Dubas. Now, what's coming in on the other end of this? That is Matt Dumba, as well as that 2028 second round pick. The second round pick is the star of the show. It is exactly what Kyle Dubas did this trade for. It's probably the only reason that he was going to trade Vlad Kolyachonok is to make sure that it's contract in, contract out, and both teams can stay under that 50 contract maximum and to get the second round pick. That's the only reason that Kolyachonok was probably traded in this deal. Matt Dumba is what he is. He's a cap dump. And that's the reason the Dallas Stars were getting rid of him. They wanted a little bit more flexibility. This is a team that's going to want to get aggressive with how close they have been to a Stanley Cup over the last couple of seasons. And Matt Dumba just didn't fit into that picture. Fortunately for the Penguins, he fits pretty well into their picture. The 30-year-old right shot defenseman brings something that Kyle Dubas has been on the hunt for all offseason long, and that's added physicality, especially on the Penguins' blue line. I mean, this is a guy who, over his career, has been known for his physicality. Yes, he has some offensive upside. He scored 10 goals a handful of times in the National Hockey League, but at the age of 30, that started to dry up a bit. What hasn't is the fact that he's a hard player to play against. And that is what Kyle Dubas wants for this team in 2025. He wants them to be a little bit more grittier. He wants them to be a lot more physical. And you can see that by the signings of Justin Brazeau, by bringing in a big body in Anthony Mantha, and now by trading and acquiring Matt Dumba for the right side of the Penguins defense. If you don't want to look at it that way, look at it this way. It is exactly like the Kevin Hayes trade last summer, where the Penguins got Kevin Hayes and a second round pick for practically nothing in return. I don't want to say Vladislav Kolyachonok is practically nothing. He's a young NHL defenseman that maybe, just maybe, when given the right opportunity, could become a good puck-moving defenseman on the left side for a team, a good bottom pairing defenseman, maybe even a good second pairing defenseman if he reaches his max potential. But the odds are he's not going to do that in Pittsburgh. So you trade him away, a player that really is of little consequence to your future plans, and you get back a second round pick, which takes you to 17 picks in the first 3 rounds over the next 3 drafts. Think about that matched with the fact that the Penguins picked 5, I believe, in the 2025 draft. They're loading up and they're trying to bolster that prospect system as quickly as possible, and getting second round picks to take on salary in Matt Dumba is just something that is almost like the free space on the bingo card, especially if you're a team like the Penguins who have that much cap space to burn in the 2025 season. After this trade, they still have $12 million in cap space, according to Puckpedia. And that is without an Erik Karlsson trade. We'll get to that in a minute. That is without a Brian Rust trade. And that is without a Rickard Rakell trade. And the latter two have been talked about a lot in the past calendar week. So they could have even more cap space to kind of maneuver and take advantage of these cap strap teams like the Dallas Stars. Now, speaking of that defense, I want to touch on that really briefly before we go today. If you look at the way the Penguins defense is lined up right now, I think we all can agree that it's still going to change, right? This is not the finalized defense that's going to walk into training camp, let alone game one of the 25-26 season. You look at the right side and it's getting awfully crowded over there. Chris Letang, Erik Karlsson, Matt Dumba. Don't forget Connor Clifton, who was acquired around the NHL draft time. And then you look at the left side and you say it's pretty much the opposite. There's names there, but they're names that you look at and you say, is there anybody that can play on the top pairing consistently? I have a hard time believing it. Ryan Graves is still over there. Parker Wotherspoon was a nice addition. I enjoyed the fact that they brought him in free agency, but the guy was great in a third pairing role for a bad Boston Bruins team. Let's be realistic. Are you comfortable putting him on the top pairing right out of the gate? I'm not. Maybe he can grow to that, potentially. I don't know. I haven't extensively watched Parker Wotherspoon's career. Maybe he has that in him. Maybe he doesn't. The point is, we don't know, and we don't know about any of these guys. Graves, over the last 2 seasons, has proven that he cannot play alongside Chris Letang for 20 minutes a night and play good hockey, and maybe that's the point, but I don't think that is. Then you look at a guy like Owen Pickering, somebody who you're hoping eventually can grow to that level. But is he ready at game one of the 2025 season? That's a tough position to put him in. And the only other name on there that has true NHL potential at the moment is Ryan Shea. And there's some in the fan base that'll roll their eyes and say, what do you mean true NHL potential? And that's where you're standing on the left side. So it feels like there's more moves to come, probably more additions to the left side of the defense. I mean, shoot, Matt Grzelcyk is still out there on the open market. The second wave of free agency has really yet to be underway. And then there's probably a move to be made on the right side, and I think we all know who I'm talking about. You know, a lot of people connected the dots. I know Josh Yohe wrote about it in his reaction piece in The Athletic. It feels like this sets the table for Erik Karlsson's departure. The thing is, it's not an easy move to accomplish, right? Even though the bonus money is paid, which means Erik Karlsson got a fat check on July 1st, which makes his actual money owed a lot less than what it looks like on the salary cap, and that's going to make him more enticing for other teams. Even with that, it's a $10 million salary cap hit, and yes, the Penguins can retain, and I would imagine that they would have to be able to get him out and get anything decent in return besides the available cap space, and he has to accept it. So that takes a lot of teams off the board. You have to imagine Erik Karlsson, a player who, when he was traded to Pittsburgh, said he waived his clause because he wanted a chance to chase a championship. And at that point, the Penguins had only missed the playoffs once, and it was by 1 point. Evgeny Malkin was coming off of a good season. Sidney Crosby was coming off of a great season because he's only had great seasons. And the Penguins felt like they were just one superstar away from turning this whole thing around and getting back into the postseason and making a run at it. At least that was the outward view of the organization 2 years ago. So why would that desire for a championship have changed in the last 2 years for Karlsson? You would think coming here, swinging and missing completely, not even making the playoffs, would make him more desperate to join a team that could go on to, at the very least, compete for a Stanley Cup. So that is a massive hurdle that you have to jump in order to move Erik Karlsson and his contract. So I'm not sure how much this sets the table. It certainly puts the Penguins in a position that once it happens, you are covered on the back end. But I still think that there's a lot of work to be done for the Penguins this offseason on the blue line. Erik Karlsson's the big name, but look at that left side. Yeah, maybe Parker Wotherspoon can be a second pairing defenseman. I have faith that he is better than a third pairing guy. I do. But is that what you're going into the season with? Are you going to signal that clearly that Gavin McKenna, you're hoping, just has to drive a couple hundred miles west after next year's 2026 draft? I don't know. But at the end of the day, this is the move that we got yesterday and is the first of what's going to be many trades, I would imagine, between now and the start of training camp. The Penguins get Matt Dumba from the Dallas Stars, as well as a 2028 second round pick in exchange for left shot defenseman Vladislav Kolyachonok. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this trade, and let me know, do you think they actually pull it off? Do you think they actually trade Erik Karlsson between now and the start of training camp? That's going to be it for this one. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube if you enjoyed this video at Tip of the Ice-Burgh, or you can find us anywhere you get your podcast from. We'll see you guys next time.